Hello guys, and welcome to a new Broken Arrow video today by me, Vulcan. In this one, we're going to be taking a look at the brand new gameplay video that just came out about Broken Arrow from Slytherin and Steel Balalaika. This came out on the 26th of September 2022, and I think it's been about 9 months since they revealed the gameplay before. And a lot has happened since then. We've had, obviously, Wano come out into early access, at least. And therefore, I will be comparing this quite a lot to Wano, of course. But let's just get into it. I'm going to go to the start and we'll watch it through together. It is, of course, pre-alpha gameplay, so a lot of things will be subject to change. It does say it there. But one thing that struck me right from the start is that it is a very similar scenario to what we did see in the initial trailer, in fact. So it looks like they've gone and they've made a mission out of the initial trailer. But I'm really liking this scene. I like the scene a lot, mainly because of the detail around the grass and the foliage, and the environment just looks so much better. But it's funny because in the trailer it kind of varies quite a lot. Also, the camera angles are really cool. If you can actually adjust to those camera angles during the gameplay, then you could create some really cool screenshots. So yeah, here's an example of where the environment varies quite a lot. You'll see when it zooms in, the grass comes back. So I don't know if it's like a level of detail or like a draw distance problem, because you can see like the trees popping in and out as they change in detail as well. I feel like they've got a little ways to go in that respect. But the drone, cool. Going to be interesting to see how they're implemented, whether or not it's something you actually control or if it's like a tactical aid, like off-map kind of thing, just flies in, give you information, that kind of thing. Going to be interesting to see. The overall terrain here is a bit hit and miss, but I really like the urban layouts. I think the urban layouts look really cool. Get to see a little bit of the UI, but I'll talk about that later on. The explosions sometimes look cool and sometimes don't. Like sometimes they explode and you can see all the dust getting kicked up and the dirt and the debris, and then other times like the explosions are just like big clouds of smoke and it's just kind of weird. Doesn't really look like an explosion. It just looks like somebody's laying smoke everywhere. We do get to see the modular system. I'll talk about that a bit more, of course. Top attack system's going to be cool, and they've also got the adjustment of altitude being showed off. Of course, the new animations for death animations and destruction being shown as well. One thing that was really cool about this is that you can see the artillery shells hitting the buildings, and they're using them as cover for the tanks, which is really cool. More of the modular system. The bombs look a bit weird there. Again, adding more armor to the tanks, some reactive armor. Don't actually get to see it in effect so much, but get to see a Harrier get shot down. Even though I don't know if it really looked that good. We've got the smoke problems again here, where when these tanks fire, they let off like huge waves of smoke in front of them. It's really weird. Like, I understand a bit of like dust kick up, but it's got to be like a bit more semi-transparent than that. Oh, one thing that does look really cool throughout this trailer is the way that aircraft interact with missiles. Like, when they get hit by the missiles, it looks kind of cool. And same with the helicopters. Like there, that aircraft getting shot down, I was like, that actually looks pretty decent. But then you get to see here like the smoke explosions. I mean, there might actually be smoke effects. Like, I don't know if that's supposed to be smoke, but then you see it doing damage to units, so it's a bit weird. And you got that like little spark in the middle of the smoke cloud. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's still a little ways to go here, but it's definitely overall a graphical improvement from what we saw in the gameplay last time. So that's something at least. I am a little bit worried that this is like 9 months of development, because we didn't really see a whole lot in terms of like gameplay from a way that the game would actually be played kind of way. You know, we didn't get to see if there was like any objectives and stuff like you do get on the side of the screen, which is like above me. There was like the thing saying about having objectives of some sort, but it wasn't like we were seeing the mission be fulfilled. It was more just let's throw units at each other and see what sticks kind of thing. Anyway, I'm going to go through to specific timestamps and we'll have a quick chat about certain aspects of this. So here at 121, we do get a really nice look at the map, or a map. This gives me hope, but also a little bit of concern. Like over on this left hand side here, you can see like the rocks and like the deformation in the terrain, but then when you come to like this edge part, it looks kind of weird, and like the way it goes flat and then it goes to like a ramp and then it goes flat again. I don't know if, like, I'm worried that it's going to be like European Escalation, where a war game European Escalation, that is, where at the edge of every hill there was like a straight ramp and you can kind of see it on the way down. Of course, this is supposed to be like a dry river or something in the terrain, but at the same time, the way that this has been made is a little unrealistic and it kind of sticks out. But overall, like, the town here looks really cool. I think this looks nice, you know, the way that this is all put together. And the detail in general from this distance actually looks pretty good. You see the roads running off into the distance and so on. Like, the detail over here is really nice. The detail over here, not so much. But maybe that's just because they didn't want to have it so that the map just like randomly cuts off, like it does in, say, Warno, and instead want it to look like the map runs off into the distance. Because you can kind of see down here, like maybe this is where the edge of the map is, where you've got like the high detail and then it suddenly goes low detail. So maybe this is just kind of the edge of the map per se, and this is the actual part that's on the map. It's just kind of weird that they would show it that way in the trailer, because it just makes it look like this area of the map is just not finished yet, which I guess could also be the case. So of course I do want to talk about the modular weapon system a little bit, but before I do, I've actually forgot to mention throughout the video, the callouts and stuff are way better than they were in the previous video. When we watched the previous video, when they like demonstrated at the Slytherin event, it was like the same order. It had the same callout every single time. But like this time around, it was like they'd obviously worked a lot on all of the different callouts. They sound very like authentic and well done. So that's something. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about the modular weapon system. So I think the modular weapon system is really cool. I think it's a nice idea, right? But at the same time, it's kind of similar to the Warno card system. It's basically the same sort of thing, right? So in Warno, what you do is you have like multiple cards of the same plane, but then they have different loadouts, which are pre-made. Whereas in Broken Arrow, you're obviously going to have a unit, and then you can select the weapons that you want to put on said unit, right? With like this modular system. Now, it's all very well, and again, I like the idea. I'm just a bit worried about the implementation. I feel like there's going to be a bit of trouble with balancing. Particularly if a particular weapon system like an HGM or something works better on one unit than another, and then you're going to have to start thinking about how you price that and whether or not you're going to make the weapon system more expensive. But then if you do that, would it be useful on or useless on another unit? And you see what I mean. It can get kind of complicated over time, especially if you're going to add like new units over time. If they just go ahead and add everything straight away, which I don't expect they will, then, you know, that's fine. But DLC, right? You got to make money somehow, or if they do expansions or whatever. I don't know how they're going to monetize their game, of course, so who knows. But yeah, either way, the modular system looks cool. It's just kind of a lot of people, I see a lot of people going, oh, this is amazing, but, you know, it's not that different from what is already available in games like Wargame and Warno, right? So at 249, we do get to see a lot of the UI, and this is actually very similar to what we've seen before. Not much of this is new. Maybe this bar at the top, which has some sort of like objective going on with like this red bar and then the timer. But on the left, we've got the income, and then there's like the total amount of points you have that you can spend. And then when you click on it, it comes down with like a menu, which has all the different types of units on, or at least, you know, at another point in the video that shows that. In the top right, we've got the tasks, although there are no tasks labeled here. We have the speed controls and stuff, which is cool. Speed controls, I think, are pretty important, particularly for people who want to play single player. Then you've got, like, obviously the buttons in the bottom left, and then you've got what you have selected, and then the unit, of course, with its health bar, which all of the units in this game have health bars. Then you have, like, whether or not it's loaded or not, and then the different ammo types for particular weapons. So you got like 3 weapon slots here with 3 ammo types for this gun. So you've got your like standard sort of composite round, then you've got like your HE round, and then you've got an ATGM, which fires out the barrel of a T80 BVM in this case. So yeah, looking pretty good, to be honest. It's clean, and yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's just pretty standard, honestly. The main thing is it hasn't really changed all that much. The only big difference that I did see is that the icons are a little bit more clear than they were before. You have the sort of blue icon in this case, and then there's like a little sort of shield shape black background to these, which is a lot easier to read than before, because I think before it was a lot more transparent behind. So the blue unit used to get kind of the colors would like merge into the background somewhat, and it would kind of get hard to read. But again, you've got the health bar, you've got the reload time, which is the white bar underneath, and then in this case we can also see stress. So there is like orange blinkers and red blinkers, and then we also see that you can group units. So there's like 2 APCs here in like a group. I think it's like some sort of, I don't know if it's like label aggregation. I don't think it's label aggregation. I think it's just grouped units. So you can choose to have a unit in a group or not, and that is basically what's going to clutter or unclutter the UI. Of course, at the end, we do have like a good sort of overall view of the map and a lot of the units here. So you can see how the icons can get a little bit cluttered. So I don't know if they are going to introduce any sort of label aggregation or anything. But you have these like green shields that shows cover, by the way, and then you can see the different types of stress. So you got like red stress, yellow stress, and then like not stressed. Over on the left side here, we got the like smoke puffs from the artillery. I think like in general this doesn't look that good. Like it could look a lot better, and like this looks good if it were actually smoke. You know, if it was like somebody was using smoke rounds and that's how it looks, then that's cool. But this is supposed to be actual artillery, which does damage. So it's kind of a bit, I don't know, I'm not a massive fan of it. I think the VFX could do with a little bit of work. Also, the other thing is the draw distance again. And this is probably the point in the video where I noticed it the most. On the right-hand side here, when you look at these buildings, there's just no detail around any of them. It's like, you can see where the textures have been painted around the buildings, which is fine, but there's no like indication of the cars or like fences or anything like that from a distance, and that is definitely something that they're going to have to improve. Like same deal on the left hand side. All of these sort of industrial buildings are just like cubes or cuboids or whatever, right? They're just like shapes with plain walls. And so making sure that they have textures that can be seen from afar, like low poly textures for those, is going to be quite important to make sure that the level of detail remains decent throughout. Because like in the middle here, if you look at the buildings, like the high-rise buildings with all the trees in between, it looks really good. It's just when you're zooming in and out of games like this, you don't want stuff popping in and out. So at the moment, if you were to zoom into these buildings or like that car park on the right hand side here, you'd see a load of cars just like pop in like out of nowhere. and that can be like really immersion breaking, and particularly when they're going for a more realistic setting, then that's something that you're going to want to expect, like it not to be immersion breaking like that. Warno does this really well because the RS Zoom engine is tried and tested and works really well for this kind of thing, but it looks like Broken Arrow has a little ways to go if they're looking to match it. And that's about it for what I wanted to talk about. Overall, I think it's great. I mean, more gameplay shown is better, like in my opinion. If they can bring these out more regularly, that would be really cool, and then we can start to see like the improvements over time, because it's been quite a long time since they obviously released the previous gameplay, but then I don't feel like the way that units interact with each other and then the way that the gameplay looks in general has changed all that much. Like, it's still them charging a bunch of units into other units rather than how I believe the game will actually play out, which will be a bit more tactical than that, right? It's less going to be like, let's charge a line of tanks into an enemy line of tanks. It's going to be, let's use cover, let's flank, let's, be smart about things. So less of like the big wave of artillery, unless that's what they end up going for, in which case that's fine, but there's no real like indication of how the game will actually play. And I think that's the biggest worry at the moment for me, or like not necessarily a worry, but the thing I'm curious the most about. So overall, I think they've shown us some systems that we haven't seen before. So aircraft, I think, was one of them. We didn't have aircraft in the gameplay at all, I don't believe, the last time we saw it. So that's something. And we've got the like top attack missile stuff with like the new explosion effects on tanks and the new artillery effects and different things like that. The new callouts, like there are a lot of improvements here. But do I think it's like 9 months of improvement? Like, it's hard to say because we don't see how the game is really going to play. With all that said, I do wish them all the best in their continued development of the game, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of it, for sure. And I will, of course, cover more of it when it comes out, or when more gameplay comes out and so on. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see more content on Broken Arrow in the future. Also, merch. Still got the 10-year merch available if you want to have a look. I'll leave a link in the description. And yeah, thank you very much, guys, for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.